Hi there. This safety video will introduce you to some important features of the Squirrel helicopter. It'll be followed by a more detailed briefing from your pilot covering over-water operations, the brace position and evacuation of the aircraft in an emergency. The Squirrel is a safe aircraft, and while safety videos are notoriously dull, please do pay attention. There is important information contained in this video. Now let's have a look at the helicopter. As a passenger, you need to know how to open and close cargo lockers and doors, how to put on and remove your seatbelt, how to communicate using a headset and a push-to-talk button, the location of emergency equipment, and how to safely approach the helicopter, particularly when it's running.
The Squirrel has two cargo compartments on the left or port side and one on the right or starboard side. On the port side, the small rear cargo compartment opens by turning the lock handle clockwise.
This door is very light, so if you're loading or unloading in windy conditions, make sure you have two people for the job, one to hold the door and the other to deal with the cargo.
Inside is the Emergency Locator Transmitter, or ELT, and a metal panel protecting important electronic components.
Be very careful when loading gear into this compartment, as it is possible to damage this equipment.
The door is closed by simply giving it a firm push and ensuring the lock handle is in the closed position. The larger port side cargo compartment is secured by 3 latches. Push the raised section of each latch to open the door. Use the stay to hold the door in the raised position.
Once again, if conditions are windy, always use 2 people for any loading or unloading, one to hold the door and the other to deal with the cargo.
To close the door, lower and hold in the closed position and push the latches closed. The large starboard side cargo compartment is reserved for survival equipment for the pilot and passengers. This door is held open by a gas strut and is secured by 2 latches. There are 2 passenger doors on the port side of the helicopter, the rear sliding door and the forward hinged door. The rear sliding door is opened by turning the handle to the open position, pulling gently out and sliding back until the spring lock engages. The door is now locked in the open position. To close the door, release the spring lock while moving the door gently forward. Slide the door forward until it stops, push the rear of the door in and turn the handle to the closed position.
If you're seated next to this door, you need to be familiar with how to close and open it from the inside.
Release the spring lock, slide the door forward until it stops, use the small plastic handle to pull the door in, move the forward handle to the closed position. To open the door, reverse those moves. Forward handle to the open position, push the rear out and slide the door back. The forward hinged door is opened by moving the handle to the open position. A gas strut helps to open the door and hold it there. To close, push the door shut and turn the handle to the closed position. In an emergency, this door can be released by removing the protective plastic cover and lifting the orange handle. Only use the emergency release when the pilot tells you to.
When you are seated and closing the door, make sure the handle is in the fully open position as you close the door, then turn it to the closed position.
The larger pilot's door on the starboard side of the helicopter is operated in the same way as the port side passenger door.
When you're ready to board the helicopter, you'll usually need to undo the seatbelt before you sit down.
The rear seatbelt consists of a lap sash and a shoulder harness. Lift the large metal clasp to release the buckle and push back together to engage. The shoulder harness clips onto the lap sash buckle of the belt. Pull the strap to tighten the belt low across your hips.
On leaving the helicopter, always return your seatbelt to the closed position to prevent it being left outside the door.
The front seatbelt consists of a 4-point harness. Rotate the centre coupler in either direction to release the belt. Do up the hip belt by pushing the metal buckle into the central section. Pull the shoulder belts over both shoulders and attach them to the central coupler. Tighten both sides equally, low and tight across your hips.
Once again, ensure that your seatbelt is done up as you're leaving the helicopter. Each passenger has a noise-cancelling headset to allow them to talk to and to hear the pilot and other passengers. The headset is adjustable. Place it on your head and move the microphone so that it's close to your lips. You won't be heard unless you do.
If your cabin communications are not set to voice activated by the pilot, you will need to use a press to talk button. Use the silver button closest to your headset lead. Push the button fully in, talk, and then release the button. If you are sitting in the front seat, the push to talk switch is at your foot. Depress the switch with your foot to talk and make sure you release the switch when you have finished talking by lifting and moving your foot.
Be aware that on takeoff and landing and when operating near an airport, your pilot can be very busy on the radio and flying the helicopter. So avoid any unnecessary chatter at these times.
Oh, and one more important thing. Make sure you remove your headset before attempting to leave the helicopter. The front passenger has access to some important emergency equipment.
At their feet is a first aid kit. The emergency locator transmitter is in the rear luggage compartment.
That can be operated from the cockpit.
There is a red switch directly in front of the passenger on the control panel, marked ELT. The switch has 3 positions: on, armed and test, and is always in the armed position.
In an emergency situation, if you're unsure if the ELT is transmitting, set the switch to the on position. Between the front seats and mounted to the pilot seat is the fire extinguisher. Only discharge the fire extinguisher if instructed to do so by the pilot. Survival equipment, often including sleeping bags, emergency rations and a tent, are located in the starboard side locker.
It is also where you will find the satellite phone, which can be removed from the aircraft for use in an emergency. Always approach the helicopter from a direction where you can see the pilot and they can see you. Secure any loose items before approaching the helicopter. Never approach without first giving and then receiving the thumbs up signal from well outside the area covered by the main rotor disc. Walk briskly from the front to the side of the helicopter. Do not spend unnecessary time at the edges of the rotor disc. In gusty conditions, the blades can be blown downwards. On uneven ground, be aware that the main rotor blades may be much closer to you than on even ground. Approach from the direction that gives you the most clearance. You are safest at the side of the helicopter, no further than 1 arm's length from the fuselage, rather than near the edge of the main rotor disc. For nearly all purposes, loading and unloading of passengers and cargo will be done from the port side of the helicopter, so it's best practice to only approach from the front port side. The rear fuselage of the helicopter is a danger zone, with hot exhaust gases which can burn, the radio antenna which can be easily damaged, and the tail rotor which can kill. Never approach the helicopter in this zone. Only approach from a direction that gives the pilot a clear view of you and be very aware of the clearance distance between you and the main rotor blades, particularly on uneven ground. Your helicopter may be equipped with floats on the landing skids. Never stand on the floats, as this can damage them.
As I mentioned earlier, the majority of loading and unloading of the helicopter will be done from the port side of the aircraft. In most cases, this will be done while the helicopter is shut down and under the supervision of your pilot.
However, if the helicopter is running, you may be responsible for loading or unloading. Always wear appropriate personal protective equipment, especially hearing protection, and depending on the environment you are operating in, eye protection as well. Again, always approach the helicopter from a direction that gives the pilot the best view of you. Ensure that you give and receive the thumbs up signal from well outside the area covered by the main rotor disc. Don't spend any unnecessary time at the edge of the rotor disc. Remember, the blades are close to your head and can be deflected down in gusty conditions. Nothing should be carried to the helicopter above shoulder height. Long items should not be carried upright. Always carry them horizontally when you approach the helicopter. When fitted, the cargo basket is easy to use. Observe the weight limitations and ensure the basket door is not forced closed on the cargo. Use 2 people to load cargo in the rear cargo compartments, one to hold the door, the other to load the cargo. Pay particular attention to the cargo weight limits assigned to each compartment. Make sure the cargo is secure and will not move in flight. Ensure all cargo doors are securely closed and notify the pilot that the load is secure and the doors are closed by giving the thumbs up signal. The pilot has a door open indicator light on the control panel. If this is lit, he will indicate to you that the doors need to be checked again.
For all overwater flights, a life jacket must be worn.
Note which way is the front of the jacket. If you are wearing a hat or glasses, remove them before pulling the jacket over your head. Clip the buckle together and tighten the strap snugly around your waist. If you need to inflate your jacket, wait until you are clear of the aircraft. Pull down firmly on the red tags at the base of the jacket. If your jacket doesn't fully inflate, use the red valves to top it up. These valves can also be used to deflate the jacket by pressing at the top of the tubes.
On some overwater flights, you'll also be carrying a life raft, which will be stowed inside the cabin behind the pilot's seat. Your pilot will brief you in detail on how to deploy this life raft if it's required.
Thanks for your attention and have a great flight with Helicopter Resources.